Here to introduce Morton Meyerson, please welcome Hall of Fame legend, Ross Perot Jr.
Kendra, thank you very much for a marvelous night, and I want to thank all of you for being with us tonight for a very special evening, and I am honored to basically introduce my great friend, Mort Meyerson. I've known Mort literally almost all my life since I was 7 years old, and I watched Mort and my father build EDS together. And John Paul, at EDS, we had a motto: eagles don't flock, we find them one at a time. And my father found Mort, and that was one of his great eagles. Now, Mort was the unconventional eagle at EDS, and my father and Mort had a great partnership. And as my father would come home, I said, "What are you working on?" And he loved to say, in a very warm way, "Another weird Mort idea." And that was the partnership where they built EDS. And then sold it to General Motors, then Perot Systems. Mort then helped Richard Rainwater, and became very close to the Rainwater team. He then went and helped Michael Dell. Mort has had a huge impact on our city, and on our state, and on our country. Mort, as you saw with the symphony, worked very hard to build the symphony for our city, and he continued to work my father to make the lead gift. And if you know my father, he's not really that big on the symphony. And he said, "Mort, I'll give the lead gift, but only if we can name it after you, to give you the idea of the relationship these two men have." Mort is a great mentor for me. I've traveled the world with Mort. I have been in our early Pro Systems board meetings, I think in 1991 or 1992, and Mort said, "I think the internet is going to be pretty big." And Mort, of course, was right. In 1997, Mort says, "I think we need to go to India." And we were the first IT services firm to go into India and pioneer India. And when we sold Perot Systems, we had almost 20,000 associates in India because of Mort's vision. Mort is a wonderful son. I watched him take great care of his parents. I watched this wonderful love story that he had with his wife, Marlene. I saw the love he had for his children, the love he's had for this community. He is a man filled with grace and mercy. He wants to make the world a better place. And Mort is the ideal candidate and now member of the Texas Business Hall of Fame. Mort Meyerson.
I'd like to thank Ross Jr. for those wonderful comments. And now for something a little bit different. I don't think of myself as a winner and a legend. I think of myself as a small-town Jewish boy from Fort Worth. Now, you may think that's a weird thing to say, but I actually feel that way. And I'm going to talk about a subject that's very near and dear to my subjects that are near and dear to my heart. And that's about luck and timing and a fortunate draw when I became part of my parents, grandparents, and my entire family. I was very lucky in that way. I had fabulous support in the family. My Meyerson family came to Fort Worth, Texas in the 1890s. There were dirt roads, and they came straight from Russia, where they were escaping religious persecution, and they had saved their life. My mother's family, the Gressman family, came from, it's a strange story. My mother said they were from Germany. I looked into it with a genealogist and discovered they were from Prussia. And recently, in the last month, I had another team look at it, and it turns out they were from Russia, Poland. So I got this strange background. They both came from generally Eastern Europe. And so I've been able to live the American dream as we think of it in the most positive way. So, luck. I was lucky that I was born in Fort Worth, Texas, not Eastern Europe. I went to public schools, K through 12. I had extraordinary teachers, coaches, and classmates. So I'm going to now talk about a piece of luck that's got a dark side. I was ranked in the top 100 football players in Texas my junior year, and I was given a slot at the Air Force Academy to play football for the Air Force Academy. And that was my junior year. And so I wanted to be a pilot, and I wanted to go to the Air Force Academy, and I wanted to play football. I was injured on the third game of my senior year with a devastating knee injury, and I couldn't pass the physical, and I was not able to go to the Air Force Academy. And that's a strange way to look at luck, but I think it saved my life. At the time, I thought it was the worst thing in the world. It destroyed my confidence in myself. I was no longer whatever I had in my mind. But I went to the University of Texas, which turned out to be at Austin, and it turned out to be an incredible experience. I had great teachers. I was deep into music and liberal arts, etc. You've already heard the story. I went to the U.S. Army as a young officer, and my bridge playing partners suggested that I would be a good computer person. I want to put a little color into that. Most people think of computer programming and systems design as an engineering or a mathematical case. Well, in fact, it is partially, but I look at it a little differently, and because of my background, maybe. But the way I look at it, have you ever imagined that you were walking on a mountain path in some beautiful place in Colorado or Montana? Or you listen to a string quartet that sets you into a different zone? Or you sat with your family at Thanksgiving and you felt the warmth of the community? That's how I view software. It's true. And that's why Ross said I was so weird. I've already said that I didn't tell the backstory in the video, but I was at Bell Helicopter. I had a great experience working for 3 years there, and I was promoted to go to Textron, and I was approached by a recruiter for EDS, a company with 53 employees. And they asked me to interview. I interviewed. They had team interviews. 3 systems engineers interviewed people. I had a disastrous interview. All 3 of them thought that I was a yo-yo. And some people still think that. But Mitch Hart was the president of the company, and he approached me after the interview, said, "You didn't get along very well with the team." And I didn't say much. And we wound up having a conversation, and he said that he would make an offer and would match the salary that I was going to get going to the Textron. I was being promoted to Textron vice president. He would match it as a systems engineer trainee at EDS because I didn't have that much experience. And I accepted it. And that was a lucky move. If it hadn't been for Mitch, I wouldn't have joined EDS. I'll tell you one other story, and then I'm going to kind of close down. I was the happiest systems engineer in EDS you could imagine. I wrote computer code. I designed systems. I dealt with customers. I had teammates EDS had an incredible team, and it was just lovely. I was all by myself in the basement, tickled to death. And Ross approached me about becoming a project manager, and I was not very keen on that idea. And so I took the job, and it was at the time when healthcare was changing. Medicare and Medicaid, Title 18 and Title 19 was passed. Ross asked me to come out of my cave and asked me if we could design and implement a system in 9 weeks. The typical time to do this might be a year and a half. And so I took a team of 3 people, and we, in fact, figured out a way to do it. I went back to him and said, yes, we could do that. And then he said, how do we price this? And I said, I have no idea how we price this. I'm not a business guy. Salespeople do pricing. This is not my field. He said, I didn't ask you what your opinion was. I asked you, how can we price this? Now that, for those of you that know Ross Sr., that would be a typical conversation. So he said, how do we price it? So I went into another 3-day seance, and none of the ways that EDS priced business worked. And so I kept playing with it and playing. I came up with an idea, and I went to him and said, okay, here's how we can price it. He said, I've never seen it done that way. I said, yeah, but that's how we can price it. And he says, and you want to charge $1 per claim? And I said, yes. And he said, it's insane. They're only spending 18 cents. And I said, yeah, but they can save $1.50. So if they're smart, they can get free data processing and save 50 cents. And it's a no-brainer. So he said, okay, meet me 2 days past at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I'll never forget this. I show up at 8 o'clock. I've never seen a client, never seen a president of a company, nothing. I go to the desk of the president, no Perot. So I call Betty, his assistant, and I said, where's Ross? He said, oh, he's gone to Colorado. And I said, what? I'm here with the customer, and I've got this deal, and he said how to price it. I figured it out. He's going to present it. And he said, well, Betty said, well, he's gone. So I went into the office. I'd never met a president of any company. And as the vice president of operations was with me, sitting next to me. And I've already told you I like doing things in the basement all by myself. I'm an introvert. I was so scared I couldn't talk. So I sat there with this piece of paper that I had designed called a 1-page contract, and I just sat there. And the operations guy who knew me pulled it out of my hand, and he said, I think Mr. Meyerson's got a proposal on the Medicare. And he reads my letter, and the president asked a question about, well, how do I know that you guys can do that? And what is this? Well, of course, now he's asking me an operating question. I calmed down, and I said, well, yes, we can do that. I've studied it. It'll take 9 weeks. We can implement it. You'll save money, blah, 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 blah. And then he said, how do I know that you can do it? And I said, because I'll give you my word. I know I've got the right team. We have the right people. We can do it. He signed the contract. That contract generated more profit in the first month than EDS made in the first 6 years of its existence. Now, so I tell this story for the entrepreneurs in the room who worry about giving speeches or being scared or failing or not being able to speak. If you have friends in the room, you can be saved. But I want to talk about something slightly different. What did Ross see in me that said I could be a business person. I never took a business course in my life. I never took an accounting course. I have a liberal arts degree in philosophy. There's no possibility I could be a business person. He saw something. And John Goff said something really important about Richard. Richard saw something in him that he didn't know. Ross saw something in me, and I'll be forever grateful for that in my business career. So I'm going to end kind of in my 5 minutes by saying something that I feel very strongly about. My life changed in my 2 years serving active duty as a young Army officer. I found a profession, I found satisfaction, I found joy in serving. My grandparents wanted a college graduate, a military officer, and a millionaire. That was their charge to me. It all came true. And it came true partially because of the public schools and partially because of the military. And I'd like to recognize every person in this room who has served our country. Thank you.